Has anyone ever asked you that question like, hey, what do you like to do for fun? And you're kind of like, work? TV? I don't know. I'm not really sure what I like to do for fun. Do you just in general ever sit and wonder, who am I? What am I about? What do I actually care about? What am I actually working towards? What's my purpose? Well, this episode is going to be all about your identity, cultivating your identity, and figuring out exactly who you are. Welcome back to the Gen Ed Show. Welcome back. So we're going to be talking about everything about who you are and cultivating the person that you most want to be. Okay, so with it, what I want you to, in your notes, you can keep in mind for yourself as being your identity card. You can look into the description, into the captions below, and with it, you'll be able to see a link that we put in so that this way you can have those same documents. You can go through some of these exercises yourself and really figure out who you are and exactly the version of yourself that you want to cultivate. Okay, so the first thing is really figuring out what are your core values. Okay, so first one is going to be your core values. Then we're going to figure out some affirmations. This will tie into something else called the Self-Authorship. It's kind of also a program that I took this from, but this is from Jordan Peterson, clinical psychologist, all about self-authorship and creating your story in your head that you have. And then also with that being visualizations, your vision board. Okay, this is going to be extracting some knowledge from the book, The Secret. There's also a movie called The Secret, and pretty much any life coach that you ever talk to or anyone within that kind of space will talk to you about manifestation and probably point towards visualizations and vision board. But with it, first one being core values. Okay. So I always wondered this for myself as growing up. I'm not sure about this for yourself, but you'd watch movies, you watch shows, and they talk about honor. They talk about principles, right? Ethics. And I remember being a kid, and it's kind of hard to understand, like, how does someone determine their principles, their ethics, right? Or what I like to use the word being your values. More specifically, your core values. What defines you as a human being? What are the filters through which you make your decisions in life, in business, in whatever? So you'll be able to find it in that link in the comments. But with it being, first thing is figuring out your core values. So mine, for example, are family, number one, authenticity, freedom, growth, and vitality. Okay, these are the 5 things I live through and live for. So if something doesn't check off through these filters, I'm not going to do it. Okay, I make it really, really easy to be able to say no to things. And I know why I'm saying no to things. Hey, because it doesn't align with my values. I don't see how this is going to be a benefit to my family. I don't see how this is going to be a benefit to my authenticity. I don't see how this is going to be a benefit to my freedom, to my growth, to my vitality. If it's not benefiting that, why am I doing it? So you have to ask yourself that. Why are you doing what you're doing? What's the benefit? What are the values that you operate through? And do you know it specifically? Because similarly, this isn't like you're obligated and required. These are your only values forever. These can change. Okay? But so there's a list. It'll be with 350 some different words. And just literally for 30 minutes, go through it. Maybe 45 minutes, depends on how long it takes you. But just delete all the words that doesn't really mean much to me. And you'll get to somewhere around like the 30 to 50 word mark, and then it'll start getting pretty tough. And then especially once you get down to like 15 or 10 words, but get down to 5. Okay, pick 5 values. These are the 5 filters. Okay, when you have that clarity, the rest of the world can become a lot more clear and simple for you. From there, then going to turn into habits. So be very careful, be very mindful to that, and decide on all of those different pieces, right? So now we understand the values. All right, if they don't match through these values, it's not going to be a thought. I'm not going to focus on it. I'm not going to think about it. Not a big deal. Okay. Now from there, and that kind of also ties into beliefs. Let's talk about actions, right? What are the actions that you're doing each day? Okay. So you got to decide, what type of reality are you cultivating for yourself? So for number one, make sure that you go to the other video, the other episode, all about personal finances and setting up your personal finances so that you know how you're going to deal with your money, because that's going to be a big piece here. Money is going to definitely make things a lot easier, because let's be real, I'm positive there are a lot of people going to see the therapist or going for mental health help and counseling, and probably if you just gave them more money, that'd solve like a bunch of their problems, right? Probably not having to worry about different things, because heck, 50% or more of marriages end in divorce because of finances. Now that we've got our core values figured out, the next thing is figuring out what type of life are you actually creating for yourself, and we're going to have this clear through our affirmations, okay? There's going to be 2 stages to this. What I'm going to encourage you to do is to have your own piece of paper and to literally write out 2 different paragraphs. The first paragraph is going to be all I am blank, okay? Just a lot of I am statements. Now, if you're sitting there like, okay, why am I writing a bunch of I am statements? The reason is, depending on who you ask, but I like to believe this, and so perhaps you might too, that the most powerful word is the word that follows I am. For example, if you're the person who's going through life constantly saying, I am tired, or I am so dumb, or I am not worthy of love, or I don't know why anyone would love me, or I am not smart, or or then of course you look at the very successful people who say nothing but I am rich, I am successful, I am powerful, I live a great life, everyone loves me. Where do you put the most powerful word, or what word specifically after I am? So create a paragraph, I am blank. So for myself, I am compassionate, I am thoughtful, I am hungry, hungry financially, I am financially aware, I am financially literate. You get the idea, right? I am. And then also with that, be very clear on the type of habits that you do, right? I am someone who works out 3 to 5 times a week. I am someone who reads every day before I go to bed. I am someone who meditates every day, right? I am. And then with it, now that you have these I am statements, the other one is a paragraph being what you are destined for. There's a little bit more free flow to it. And this is tying into the Self-Authorship program. So if you want to do the longer version of the Self-Authorship program, the whole way that it works is that you have you writing your past until you reach the present, and then you start writing the future, right? Whatever the future that you're creating for yourself. For now, we're just really talking about the future, okay? I want you to figure out what the future is that you want to visualize for yourself. I want you to write it out into paragraphs, and then I also want you to create a vision board, okay? Because like they say, a picture is worth 1,000 words. And so with it, you've now written, probably a couple hundred, and then from there, have a vision board, the illustrations that when you look at it, you have thousands of words that go through your head in a moment, because the last piece to this being is your reticular activating system. So the last piece of this being is your reticular activating system, or your RAS, okay? This is kind of like the search tool / optimization mechanism in our brains that help us find what we're looking for. And so this is why it's very important we decide and choose what it is that we want our life to be through our values that we figure out, through the I am statements, right? Because then now our brain, we're going to start to program it little by little every day to now start to search for the things that allow you, to live those types of adjectives in which you're describing yourself as, right? And then from there, your visualization, so that your mind even more clearly knows what it's visually trying to find in the world, assuming that you're not blind. And then from there, redefining the meaning. So I want to ask you this. What gives a meaning, or what gives a moment meaning? For example, a happy moment. What makes a moment happy? Is it the moment that was happy, or was it the meaning we gave to the moment? Who's to tell? But so the biggest problem that I've ever noticed for people when it comes to cultivating your own identity, aside from your habits and your values and who you are and what you want to do, is just keeping your hopes up. Okay? Have you ever been told to not get your hopes up? Right? Don't get your hopes up, keep low expectations. Did you actually listen? Did you take that as good advice? Dude, horrible advice. Horrible advice. Because if you really want something, how do you not get your hopes up? If you want to be a really incredible anything, how do you not set high expectations for yourself? It's completely contradictory and, in fact, very hypocritical. Okay, you got to keep your hopes up. You got to keep your expectations for yourself high, because that's going to be a big piece to who you are. Are you someone that keeps high expectations and keeps your hopes up, or are you going to be the pessimist who looks at things glass half empty? What kind of life are you trying to cultivate? And you got to make the decision to do so, because then from there is a law of proximity. You're the average of the 5 people you spend the most time around. Okay? If you go back and refer to the alternative education episode, we talked about where you take advice from, right? And especially, who are you hanging out with? Because that's going to be the life that you live. If you want to live a certain kind of life, you might need to not ditch your friends, not say goodbye to them and never talk to them. That's not the case. You can still love them and they can still be your friends, but there's different friends for different occasions. That's all. There's nothing wrong with that. Because the thing is, ultimately, this is your life, isn't it? I'm not sure if you're watching this video with a bunch of other people, but otherwise it's just you watching this by yourself, right? So then if that's the case scenario, what type of lifestyle are you creating for yourself? Because you're going to be the only one that looks back on it when you're on your deathbed. Maybe there's a bunch of people around you, maybe there's no one around you. But when you're on your deathbed and you think back to the life that you've lived, are you going to be happy, or are you going to be regretting? Are you going to wish that you spent a little bit more time playing the video game or flying the drone or learning how to get a pilot's license or learning how to get a scuba diver's license, or learning how to drive something really fast or learning how to get this license or being able to do X, Y, Z? If you want to be the world traveler, go do it. I used to live in Hawaii, and you can, of course, be making good money and live there, but you don't have to make a ton of money to go anywhere, to live anything, to do anything, to move anywhere. Once you're 18, go live your life, dude. At least in the States. Anywhere else, you can pretty much do that anytime. Maybe like once you're 12. But you got to make the decision. No one's going to come here to save you. I want to help. I want to support you, as does many people in this world. As do many people in this world. But you've got to go through these exercises. You've got to make these decisions for yourself, and you've got to follow through with it. This is your life. This is your life. And the identity that you cultivate is going to lead directly to the life that you live. Because you will get paid in direct proportion to the problems that you solve. And ask not how things can be easier for yourself, but how you can be better. Because you're always going to have problems. But what kind of problems do you want? I like the $1 million problems. How about you? So make sure, go through the captions. You're going to be able to see, or go through the comments. You're going to be able to have all those different handouts so that you can do a lot of these exercises for yourself and get really clear on who you are so that you live the life that you want. Thank you again for tuning in. Make sure to follow, make sure to subscribe, show us some love with a like, and share the show to all the rest of your friends. This is really how we grow. Thank you again so much. Be safe, and we'll see you on the next episode. This is the Gen Ed Show.